What's up, Eagles Nation? What's going on in NFL world? How you doing, Division Rivals? This is Steven Hyder, Gate City Sports Channel. Sports Channel where the cerebral NFL fan comes for about 10 minutes of daily content. Tonight's content, guys. We're here to talk about the end-of-season press conference between Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman. 90% of it being Howie Roseman because obviously we only get so many chances to ask Howie questions. And let's be honest, right from the jump, man, we knew what this team was going to be. They're going to ask about Jalen Hurts. They didn't disappoint. They went right to the questions right from the jump with Reuben Frank, basically asking Howie right off the bat, is Jalen the guy going forward? Has Jalen done enough to remain the starter is basically what his question, kind of centered around. And Howie talked about, at the beginning of the year, they talked about how they wanted Jalen Hurts to take the bull by the horn. And he said that, the way he feels with a first-year quarterback taking you to the playoffs, first-year starter, I should say, taking you to the playoffs, he kind of proved what they were looking to have proved to them. So kind of a really big, encouraging step forward here in a way of kind of committing there, right, guys? I mean, that was kind of a commitment from Howie Roseman towards Jalen Hurts there. The second question was kind of a strange play off of the wording here. I don't remember who asked it, guys. I don't have it written down here. But they asked about the mindset of having Jalen Hurts as your quarterback in 2022. And Howie gave a resounding yes. Like, yes, this is probably going to be our quarterback in 2022. And he talked about surrounding Jalen Hurts with players and that, kind of talent. The overall theme I got here is how he was trying to stress here is that talent kind of dictates things in the NFL. And it seems like to me as if the direction and the general consensus in the building is that they need to put more talent around the quarterback and give him 2022 to see where things go in terms of the advancements. Where everything kind of lies itself out here. So, second question kind of down. There's still very much a commitment towards Jalen Hurts, obviously. The next question, which is the third question, came from Rob Motti. And he was basically asking this question both to Nick Sirianni and to Howie Roseman. So we got to hear both of these men speak on the situation. And he talks about, communicating with Jalen as being your starter. And Nick Sirianni said Jalen knows where he stands with us. And then he talked a little bit about, he knows he's our quarterback. And he talked about the whole aspects of Brian Johnson. And he talked about the aspects of Shane Steichen and things like that. So, it was a very resounding, we plan to go 22 with this guy. We've definitely communicated things with this guy. This is pretty much how we're looking here. And then Howie kind of talked about leveraging picks, whether that's moving up or moving back. I don't know if it's kind of hard to tell, guys. Sometimes, you try to read between the lines, but I'm not 100% with exactly what he was trying to convey in the messaging. So I'm not too sure, I think there's multiple ways of interpreting that. I interpret it to mean he's not opposed to moving up to target a guy to help this football team in 2022 or leveraging picks for 2023 and trading something back for an additional pick in 23. I felt like he said basically we will be aggressive in this draft. It's kind of the vibe I got from Howie Roseman on that question. Ed Kratz came up, asked the fourth question on this kind of topic here, and he asked about quarterback struggles in the playoffs. He was just kind of talking about Kyler Murray struggled, Mac Jones struggled, and then you had, look, Jalen Hurts struggled. I don't think anyone here, no matter how we feel about Jalen Hurts, I've heard anyone try to say that they thought he played a particularly good game. I think we all thought, man, maybe the moment got to him a little bit. Maybe the coaching staff and the quarterback and these skill position players all together kind of dropped a deuce on us out there. And, Howie kind of went into this explanation about how, nothing is given and the record does not matter. Once you reach that point, your record, it doesn't mean crap. And I think Nick kind of went in there and talked about, taking into account the entire, body of work from the season. I will say that, one thing we're going to need to focus on in the offseason, guys, as a community here, we need to dive deep into that Giants film from the first game because I can tell you right now, that Giants game has not sat right with the organization. You heard Nick Sirianni reference that again today about that was probably Jalen's worst game of his career. So clearly we need to, they're going to be using that as film to motivate Jalen, obviously as film to kind of dive deep into where some of the advancements have to be made. The development has to occur. That one's just an obvious one to me, but I will say that, he talked him up, they talked about Steichen and all that stuff again, guys, but he talked about three out of the last 4 games were a passer rating above 100. So he talked about, when he had the injuries to his legs and he could no longer rely on that as an asset as much as he was before, at least. He kind of had to play from the pocket and he thought he answered the response in return to that. So, interesting take on all this. The last question I want to get into It was Chris Murray, and he was asking this about Jalen Hurts' accuracy. And there's a couple things in here I want to get into because I thought it was really funny. To begin with, Nick kind of stressed this message. This is just a generic coaching message, guys, where they always talk about feet, finish. So basically meaning get your base correct to have accuracy on the football. But what I thought was really interesting is he went into a breakdown. This was a really good shining moment for the whole Gate City Sports Media Company here, guys, and for everyone in the audience, because we were already hip to this. What example did he go to, guys? I told you when they talk about progressions, there's one example that everybody goes to, every publication, everyone talks about the flats concept. They talk about the curls, they talk about the outside curls into the flats concept in terms of your reads, right? You normally have a 1, 2, 3 read based upon that. We discussed that literally just a day or two ago. And I thought it was very ironic that the coach took exactly what I told you guys, and immediately that's the example he went to against cover 3 to talk about how your reads and progressions work and where Jalen has to get better with setting his feet and things, which was the entire theme that we just talked about a couple days ago. That was an interesting take, guys. It was definitely a proud moment here because it's basically what I just told you guys a day or two ago. He basically just reiterated what I just told you. Is basically how you coach this kind of thing up. It's where you have to see the advancements in Jalen Hurts' game. He's telling you the same thing, which is when you hit the rhythm step and you got something like a 3-read progression, Jalen's got to get better with feet, throw. Like, he's got to get better with it. That's what he's telling you. Feet, finish. That's what he's saying, guys. And that was a really, really it was a cool thing, man. It was a really cool thing to see here from my perspective, guys. I was quite happy with that. I will say that there were some other moments inside of this press conference to where there was one question that was asked about how they felt. It was one of the Jets. I don't remember it, but he did ask him a scenario about, is there a way that you might move off of Jalen Hurts? He was asking Howie this. And I do want to preface this because I want to be open and honest. He was clearly asking if they might trade up in the draft or trade for a player. And to be honest with you, Howie did leave the door open a little bit. I'm just going to call a spade, guys. He did. Because the answer is it depends upon the opportunity. They're always going to analyze the opportunities. But, I mean, isn't that what every one of us has said? That we probably feel like Jalen Hurts is going to be the guy in 2022. But if an opportunity were to present itself with one of these really big quarterbacks like a Russell Wilson or an Aaron Rodgers, like those are no-brainers. You're going to do it. I've maintained that, yeah, those dudes, like, come on, man, these guys are really good quarterbacks. But I don't think the team is built around the quarterback in this particular situation to warrant going and doing that. So I would probably avoid that. Those are guys you get when that's the only piece that's missing from your Super Bowl contention, your Super Bowl run. But Howie left it open, right? He did say, it depends upon opportunities. I mean, I'm not going to lie about that, guys. He clearly said that. It was clearly the second to last question that was asked inside the press conference, and that's what the response was to it. Like, that is definitely true what he said. I will say one thing that I kind of thought was a missed opportunity, which is all this crap they've talked all year about Gardner Minshew. Not talking about crap like talking down on him, but like just general ways of trying to build clicks and views and stuff. They didn't ask about, like, what's the conversation you have with Gardner Minshew? Is there going to be an open competition between Gardner Minshew and Jalen Hurts? I mean, I think Howie kind of gave you the answers, to be quite honest, guys. My feeling is they're clearly going in with the intention that Jalen Hurts is the starter for 2022. But I do feel like there was an opportunity to gain clarification from the coaching staff and from the general manager of this football team in that situation, that scenario, and I didn't hear that question asked. They didn't even really bother with that one. Then there was different ways you could have spun it, guys. They could have even talked about, we're talking about opportunities. Might there be an opportunity that, do you have a price in mind for a guy like Gardner Minshew to move him? We know that there are going to be organizations looking for quarterbacks who might miss on that primary market. What's the willingness of this organization to move a guy like, Gardner Minshew? I felt like that there were some opportunities kind of missed in that realm of things, but nonetheless, overall, I thought both guys were, for the most part, they were transparent as you can be. There's some things they can't answer. There were times where Howie did not give a direct answer to questions, I'm going to be quite honest, but I think we caught the overall theme, which is Howie still feels like this team is rebuilding until they capture home field advantage. Until they have a bye and home field advantage inside of the playoffs, they're building. It's what it came across as to me. He feels like they have a golden opportunity in 2022 to do some things with these draft picks, and he did not rule out the fact of maybe leveraging picks for 2023 off of some of this 2022 leverage we've gained. So that's what I got from you guys. Leave your comments down below. What did you guys think? What did you hear? What questions stood out to you? I didn't talk about the wide receivers, but I did feel like there was a really, really good question that was asked to Nick Sirianni. It was by Martin. Last name was Martin. He asked him straightforward about the wide receiver groups and evaluation of growth and like what needs to happen there. And what I'll end the video on is that I thought Nick Sirianni had a very interesting take and also a very frustrating take. They're not giving up on Jalen Reagor, guys. I don't know if you caught that, but they're clearly not giving up on Jalen Reagor. But he dropped in the depth. He's dropped in the depth chart. Officially, clearly is dropped in the depth chart to begin 2022. You heard them talk about him being a third option, the number 3 guy. He talked about Quez getting more opportunities in 2022. He felt like he didn't provide enough opportunities for Quez Watkins in 2022. He talked about Devontae Smith being a clear-cut number 1 wide receiver in the NFL. I think there's definitely some things we can get into a separate video later on about this entire conversation, but I wanted to bring that up to you guys. That was like kind of, I don't know, somewhere around the 9th or 10th question asked of that particular set. It was by Martin asked the question. Jalen Reagor dropped the spot on the depth chart, guys. That's what I got from it. He talked about statistical opportunities in the type of offense you're running. So we'll see, guys. We'll definitely see. It's going to be an interesting offseason. I don't know if that means they're going to be dedicated to upgrading at the wide receiver position. I hope that doesn't mean that they're not going to be in free agency looking to upgrade. But one could interpret that to potentially mean that maybe this is going to be more of a defensive side of things for the draft and maybe even for free agency. I don't know, guys. Hard to say because they're not going to give you complete answers here, but he seemed to really affirm his belief that Quez Watkins is the number 2 wide receiver and Jalen Reagor should be your number 3 wide receiver. So I believed in, he seemed to really be adamant in his belief about, Devontae Smith being a number 1. So we'll see, guys. I'll say this about this group, man. We had 2 wide receivers. We had 2 guys on the outside for the first time in quite some time who put up over 500 yards receiving. We had 2 receivers over 500 yards receiving. It had been a long time since we had one. All right, guys. I'll see y'all in the next video.